Hey, you guys. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. So, I've been asked over the course of the past 2 years, when will David go to trial? When will David face some sort of repercussions for the incident that took place back in September 2023 with his then stepson, Jace Evans? Well, you guys, they had court yesterday, and the Supreme Judge ruled that David would face trial. Well, he set a trial date. Now, there is still a chance that he could take some sort of plea. There's another hearing coming up in October, but we're going to go over everything that took place yesterday. Okay. So let's go ahead. Let's get into it. The Ashley's Reality Roundup put up an article, and we're going to go over that. All right. Let's see. Well, bear with me, guys. Okay, we're going to go over this article really quickly, and it just gives us an update as to what's supposed to happen. And like I said, the judge set a trial date. It's January 2026, but he could accept a plea before then, from my understanding. Okay, so it says a trial date has officially been set. Let me give y'all something to look at really quickly. Okay, a trial date has officially been set in the child and strangulation case involving Jenelle Evans' son, Jace. So here's what we know. They had a hearing yesterday. David Eason will be going to trial January 26, 2026. That date was set by, did I say the Supreme? That day was set by a Superior Court judge earlier this week. I think I did say Supreme. So the charges that David is facing is assault by strangulation, which is a felony charge, also a misdemeanor child abuse charge. These charges go all the way back to an alleged incident that happened in September 2023. This was when Jace was 14 years old. A situation happened with Jace and David, and later that afternoon, Jace ran away from Jenelle and David's home. Jace ended up in the hospital where he told the nurses, the doctor on staff, they called the police, and he told everybody that his then stepdad, David Eason, had physically assaulted him and strangled him. Months after that, David had more serious charges added. So at first, he was just charged with misdemeanor child abuse. When this all first took place, he was charged with misdemeanor child abuse. However, some months later, he was charged with assault by strangulation because Jace reportedly had visible injuries. He had marks on his arms and his neck. And this was decided by a grand jury. A grand jury went over the evidence and noted that he had marks, and there was allegedly a Ring camera video that showed the incident take place. And from my understanding, the grand jury looked over this video as well and saw what took place, and they added the assault by strangulation. Now, before the trial kicks off in January, there is still one more administrative hearing that's supposed to happen in October of this year. And at that hearing, a plea could potentially take place, from my understanding. This is where both sides will possibly talk about a plea deal. They will hash out what evidence can and can't be used. As of right now, David does have a public defender. In June, the judge did something called an in-camera review. So this was 2 months ago, where the judge went into his chambers and he looked over sensitive information like DCFS records, notes from DCFS. Because if you guys remember, when all of this took place back in September, DCFS did get involved. They reviewed everything, and they were the ones that said, Jace and David cannot be around each other. Now, they closed the case. The case did close. DCFS closed the case, but they did remove Jace from Jenelle's care, which he was already in a facility at this point. When Jace ran away in September, he did not go back to Jenelle's for some time. He was in the hospital. The hospital then sent him to another facility where he was there for some time. And then when it was time for him to get out of that facility, they talked to Jenelle. But at this point, the judge had already put a restraining order between the two. I did see that Jenelle is crashing out on Twitter, and I will probably do a video after this to talk about it. Janelle is absolutely crashing out on Twitter today. It is Marissa's birthday, or maybe this weekend was Marissa's birthday, and Jenelle is crashing out over David celebrating with Marissa, David and his girlfriend Kenley celebrating with Marissa, and this has got Jenelle in a frizzy and a tizzy. She's mad. Okay, so let's continue. So DCFS opened an investigation after the incident took place. There was a restraining order put in place, but ultimately the DCFS case was closed. So, any notes from when DCFS opened that case was reviewed by the judge, and the judge decided what would be allowed in for David's team. So it says some of those DCSF records are now being allowed into the trial, but others are being kept sealed and will not be shared with David's lawyer or with the public. The minor in these records are assumed to be Jace, which it is. So the judge, he went in his chambers, he looked over a lot of evidence, DCFS records, notes, this alleged recording, I'm assuming, and he decided what David's team could have for their part of defending him, as well as what David's team could not have and what will remain sealed. In court documents, the state claimed David unlawfully and willfully inflicted physical injury on Jace, who was under 16 at the time. He was 14. They say David left physical marks on Jace's neck and arms that were not caused by an accident. Of course, David has denied that he intentionally inflicted pain upon Jace. In his divorce papers, Jenelle, when she divorced him, she brought this up in her divorce. Now, this is what I thought was ironic. When Jenelle was filing for a divorce from David, she cited what happened between David and Jace. She cited that there was an open case against David for child abuse against her child. Mind you, when all of this took place, and I feel like this is going to work out for David's benefit. I feel like if David's lawyers are smart, they will go back to the time when this happened. They will take all the evidence off of Jenelle's TikTok, Facebook, all her social medias, where when this happened, Jenelle was 100% defending David. She was saying that this was all Jace's fault, that David was protecting the family from Jace. So, I mean, David's team could use that to their benefit if they want. And Jenelle was doing very, very much that. When all this took place, she was on social media blaming Jace, saying that it was all his fault and that David defended them. Then when she filed for a divorce from David, she cited the charges. She was like, well, I need to divorce him because, he attacked my son and now there's charges against him. I don't need to be with him, blah, 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 blah. So when she did that, when she filed for divorce and she cited that, David responded to that. So David, in his divorce response to Jenelle, he said that Jace has behavioral issues and that Jace has had to be constrained in the past for carrying weapons, for trying to hurt himself, for trying to run away. He says he has had to be the one to step in to restrain Jace at times due to these reasonings. He also brought up the fact that DCFS opened a case but eventually closed it, even though at the time Jenelle denied that DCFS even opened a case. She said they weren't involved at all, but they were. So this case has been building for almost 2 years as of now. It looks like it could potentially be finally going to court. They have a court date, January 26, 2026. Whether David tries to take some sort of plea or, he decides to take it all the way to the trial, we'll know more in October, after the October hearing. So as of right now, there's still a chance that something can happen at the hearing in October. If not, we may see this go to trial come January. So, yeah. What do you guys think about that? I don't know. I don't know much about the legal system. I know sometimes when you get arrested, before, you go to trial, it can be years out. I've had so many people ask me over the past 2 years, like, when is something going to happen with this? When is David going to go to jail? When is he going to face some sort of accountability? And I'm like, I don't know. At one point I heard that it was going to be the summer of 2025, but January 26, 2026 is when the trial has been set. But I will tell you, if you keep up with David over on his social media, if you keep up with David's girlfriend over on social media, he just seems to be kind of living his life. He has stayed out of trouble thus far. He has a job, allegedly. Can they mention Jenelle's post if she doesn't testify? Otherwise, wouldn't it just be hearsay? I mean, this is a trial, so I would assume David's team could subpoena her. I assume they could bring her up as a witness to say, "Is this your post? Did you say that? What did you mean by that?" You know what I'm saying? And you have to have ring camera footage. I mean, the reasonings why a grown man puts hands on a 14-year-old still doesn't really matter. Even if he was like defending himself, because per the story, I've been assured there was ring camera footage. I have been told several times. I have talked to someone who allegedly watched it. So, here's the thing. When you do this for a living, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen the ring camera footage. I talked to several people who said they know about it, someone that said they watched it. Someone even told me what was said during it, that there was, you could hear that there was audio to it. So you would think a psych eval might help his case, assuming it's normal. He definitely needs to undergo the psych eval because that's what is required of him when it comes to custody of Inslee. They're requesting that. So he could do that to help with that case and this case, assuming it comes back normal. If not, it could hurt both cases. So I thought the people across the street had the ring camera footage. So this happened at the neighbor's house, which if you guys keep up with them, y'all know that David and Jenelle don't have like close neighbors. Their closest neighbors are still a little down the way. So per what I was told was that Jace was allegedly grounded because if you guys remember, he had ran away twice already in like the 2 weeks prior. Jace had ran away twice already. He was grounded. He was supposed to be, not playing any games, not on his phone, nothing. He was supposed to be in trouble. Per what I was told, David and Jenelle left to go somewhere. Jace was left at home. Jace then went to a friend's house down the street, the neighbors, and I think he took the four-wheeler. So he goes down there, hanging out, supposed to be grounded, so he's supposed to not be going anywhere. Well, as they're inside, he like sees and hears Jenelle and David driving by yelling his name. Like they get home and he's not there. They get back to the house after wherever they went and he's not there. So they're thinking, oh my gosh, did he run away again? Where is he? So they get back in the car with Jenelle, David, Inslee, and Kaiser. Marissa was not there. They're driving down the street, driving around, Jace, thinking maybe he ran away again. Well, Jace sees that. He's like about to leave the friend's house, sees them riding by, yelling for him. So he's like, oh my goodness, I got to get back home. They pass. He goes out to leave, and then they come back through and see him. They come back through, see Jace outside, so they pull up. David gets out of the vehicle. There's a back and forth, and it turns physical. And the ring camera footage allegedly was from that house, and this allegedly happened right in front of the house. So per what I was told, it's the ring camera from right by the front door. They're in like the front yard when this takes place. I was told that you could see, the car, Jenelle in the front seat. Jenelle never got out, allegedly. And it got physical. That's what I was told. Yeah, he did say he couldn't afford the test at one point. But now that he's getting that money from Jenelle, he could. Exactly. Janelle's supposed to pay him like a $30,000 payout. So maybe at this point he can pay to get it. That's true. I really am curious, like what, because I've always been like, did Jace attack David or did David attack Jace? Yes, there's a difference. I don't know. And this is what I've always said to that. This is what I've always said, like if Jace got physical with David first, David is so much bigger than Jace. So he could have just wrapped arms around him and yelled for Jenelle, call the cops, rather than putting hands around his neck and put him in a headlock and allegedly ramming him into the side of the car. I mean, I get there is a difference if that was David's intent If David jumps out of the vehicle mad at him and just goes to pound it on him, that's different than David walking up. What are you doing, son? You're supposed to be at home. And then Jace, swinging on him. That would be a little bit different. But still, David is much bigger than Jace. Jace was 14 years old at the time. David could have just wrapped up around him. And because, sometimes parents, you got to do that. Sometimes you got a kid that thinks they know it all and they might want to swing on a parent. And my mama did that one time to my brother, which was a complete misunderstanding. I'll tell you, it was actually pretty funny. My mom and my brother were in the living room and she was getting on my brother. So he like stomps off. So she stomps off behind him. He goes to his bedroom, turns around and like plops down on his bed. He plopped down on a bee. He plopped down on a bee. So when he plopped down, it stung him and he jumps back up like, let me make myself big. He jumps back up like, now he's never bucked up to my mom, but there's a first time for everything. He was like 14 years old at the time. So when he jumps up, my mom jumps up, rams, gets him in a headlock, and it's like, oh, I know you don't think you about to hit me. And he's like, no, something stung me. But she had him in a headlock. She didn't, when he jumped up with, like this, she didn't just go to dabbing him up in the face. She jumped up and got him in a headlock and had him held down in a headlock. It was like, oh, I know you ain't about to hit me. And he was like, no, something stung me. But just imagine if my mom would have decked him because she thought he was bucking up. Well, then there it would have been that she would have done punched her 14-year-old kid. He might have even been like 12 at the time. But it's something that we kind of laugh about now that, she thought he bucked up. And really, he plopped down on his bed and got stung in the butt by something, and he jumped back up. And I'm sure his fists probably were clenched. So to her, it looked like he was about to get her. So yeah, Jace was way smaller. Let me see if I can find a photo of Jace. Hold on, guys. Let me see if I can find a photo of Jace when he was about that age. I think. Hold on. Let's let this play out because I do think in one of these photos, he would be around 14 in one of them. Normally, with being a parent comes a lot of self-reflection. Jenelle never had that awakening. She's like Jace as far as her mental maturity is concerned. Yes, I agree, Amanda. I wholeheartedly agree. I feel like, how they say doing certain drugs can stunt your growth? And you remain in that mentality of whatever age you are when you started. I agree. Like, I have seen that so much. What do you mean, Tyrell? I'm not saying it's okay. Why are y'all still talking about child abuse? Well, okay, let me answer this. All of this is so wrong. Why are y'all still talking about child abuse? Well, David was arrested for it. And we just found out today that there's been a trial date set. Here we keep up with reality TV news, reality TV celebrities. So I've been asked over the course of the past 2 years, probably, I don't even know how many times, when's David going to go to court? When's he going to go to trial? When's he going to get in trouble for this? So this is what I would, obviously we find out when his trial date is set, I'm going to do a video on it. And because he's going to trial for child abuse, that's what has to be brought up. Now, I'm not saying it's ever okay. I don't know if you're talking to me or people in the chat that maybe somebody in the chat's defending this. I don't know, but I'm saying, you can always get out of. Now, look at the difference look at the why are you allowing people to defend a wife and child abuser? Well, I don't control what people say in my chat. That's why. Here in this chat, we kind of let everybody have their opinion, unless people are just outright disrespectful. If you come in here and you're disrespectful to me or other people in the chat, we will give you a warning. But we allow people to have their different opinions because that's the beauty of my channel. A lot of channels do not do that. A lot of channels, if you go somewhere else and you disagree with the creator's opinion, they will boot you out. But here, I try to allow everybody to have their opinion, even if it's different than mine. And that's why I do have a lot of followers. And a lot of people tell me they appreciate that. So here, look at the difference. I don't know the exact age. Let's see. This was Inslee completing probably pre-K kindergarten, but maybe just I mean, look at the difference in height. I mean, if Jace started on David, if Jace, swung at David, David very easily could have put him in a headlock, yelled at Jenelle, call the cops, and could have told him, you know what, you want to swing on me? We're going to call the cops, and you can go to juvie, you can go somewhere. Yeah, nobody here supports child abuse. I mean, I know I don't. If anybody in the chat does, I mean, that's your own opinions, but I think Jace has to live with Jenelle because he's addicted to weed. I think she uses it to control him. The addiction is rough. But I do know she allows him to smoke. And, we do know that Barbara had him for a long time. And Jenelle did say, which we have to question anything Jenelle says. Jenelle did say on an interview with, what was that guy's name? Fargo or something like that. She said that when he ran away the last time in Las Vegas, that her mom was like, I guess just send him back to me. And she said she told her mom, no, you've had enough of it. You're too old to deal with it. I'm going to send him to live with his dad. So it sounds like Barbara, even at his most recent runaway, which would have been in May, back in May 9th, I think it was, he ran away, was gone for like 3 or 4 days. And then she sent him to live with his dad. But Barbara was open to letting him come back there. But at this point, Barbara is too old to deal with him. She shouldn't have to. She shouldn't have to, I mean, honestly, what he needs is he needs therapy. He needs probably intensive therapy. He needs probably to get back on his medication that he was on for a while that seemed to work the best. If you don't care, then I don't know what to tell. What do you mean? I'm so confused by your comments. Like, I don't know if you're talking to me. I don't know if you're talking to other people in the chat. But, just like you have your opinion and I'm trying to be respectful of it, I don't know what you're talking about. Do you think Inslee might do the same as her brothers? Oh my goodness, I hope not. I hope not. And one thing to remember with CPS, because my mother-in-law worked for CPS for a very long time, is CPS don't rule the rules. And I think a lot of times we think that. A lot of times we're like, oh my goodness, CPS failed them again. I know I even thought that for a long time. CPS failed them again. But it's not CPS that rules on this, you guys. It's the judge. The judge always rules when it comes to CPS. CPS is called, things are reported, they go into the home, they interview, they write the report, they forward it to the judge. And then the judge, they will give their recommendation. This is what my mother-in-law told me. That's one of the reasons my mother-in-law quit working for CPS after 10 years, because several times her recommendation was, we need to remove these kids. The parents are not going to their parenting classes. They're not submitting to their random drug tests. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. We need to remove them. And the judge would say, no, give them another 6 months. Let's do this. So you know what I'm saying? Did someone report that Jace hit Barb? Not to my knowledge. I don't remember if, and I could be wrong, because let me tell you, today I've had a tough past few days and my mind is not really all there today. I think I even called a superior judge, a supreme judge earlier. Yeah. So I can't say I ever remember him hitting Barbara, but I could be wrong. It could be out there that he did. But Barbara had struggles with him too. I don't think it was as much as Jenelle. Maybe it just wasn't as publicized as Jenelle. But I know there's outlets out there that every time there's a 911 call concerning Jenelle, Jace, we hear it. There was never 911 calls when he lived with Barbara. I don't know, maybe if they just weren't found, I don't know. Thank you, O Biscuits. Trisha says he did hit Barb. So, I mean, he maybe he did, and I could just be forgetting it. Jace has ADD and ODD, not uncommon to be combative, right? And listen, raising a kid with ODD is so extremely difficult. Okay, I remember it was in court documents via the Ashley. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. So at this point, Barbara did have problems out of him. There was a couple of times he took off. Even when he ended up back with Barbara, Barbara signed over custody to Jenelle in March of 2023. Yes. He was with Jenelle for a little bit. He ran away a couple of times. He did end up going back to Barbara, but then he ran away from Barbara's house. Now, I'll tell you what I was told. I was told, take it for what you want, but I was told when he ran away from Barbara's, it was not to run away, but he actually took off to go buy marijuana. That when he got back to Barbara's house, she was like, "You're not doing that crap here. You're going to get back on your medication. You're not doing that." Right? I heard he took off. Barbara comes home. He's not there, and Barbara was scared. She was like, he may come home, but what if CPS shows up and he's not here, and I don't know where he's at? And that's why Barbara contacted the police in that moment. She didn't think that he ran away to stay gone and to not come back. She thought, he may just be out and about. But if CPS shows up and he's not here, I'm going to be in trouble if I can't tell them where he's at. So she contacted the police, the CPS caseworker, and said, "Listen, I just came home. Jace is supposed to be here. He's not here. I don't know where he's at." So then they removed him from Barbara's house. But I was told that he was honest with Barbara and the cops, that he was not running away that time that he went to go get weed. Yeah, even when juveniles commit crimes, they get so many chances. They do. They really get a lot of chances. I definitely think we all can agree he needs help and probably not being on his correct medication, because he was on medication for 7 years, and that was when he seemed to do the best. He seemed to be the best when he was, living with Barbara. I'm not going to go to say that he didn't have issues. He did. But it wasn't like he had with Jenelle. He moves in with Jenelle, and she quits giving him his medication. He starts having some issues like can't sleep, anxiety. So she starts letting him smoke marijuana, allegedly. Did I see Trisha's comment above? Let me see. I can remember when Inslee was born, the first time Barbara told Jenelle that he had no remorse after he punched her in the nose. The doc asked Jace if he felt bad, and he said no. Wow. Okay. Maybe I do remember that. Was that when he was like little? How you? He did set fire to something, I want to say, and then so did Colin. So yeah, at this point, I don't think the ring camera footage ever needs to be public. I don't think that, but I would be curious. I would be curious as to kind of what transpired, and let me just put this out there. Not that I agree at any point that David should have ever put his hands around that boy's neck or got physical back with him. The most, in my opinion, David should have done was maybe put him in a headlock and say, "You know what, I'm not going to let you go until you quit trying to swing on me," and told Jenelle, "Call the cops." Maybe hold him there and say, "You know what, you want to swing on me? I'm not bringing you back home to my house with me, your siblings, your mother, where you're trying to get physical with us. You're putting all of us in danger, thinking you're going to get physical with us. So, you know what? You can go to a boys' home. You can go to juvenile. You can go somewhere if you want to be this way." But I blame Jenelle a decent amount because she brought that boy home and took him off his medication that seemed to be working at least a little bit. At least a little bit. She took him off his medication, allowed him to smoke marijuana, and people with mental health issues, certain mental health issues, marijuana is not the answers. It can literally ruin your life. I have literally seen people who have mental health issues and marijuana will destroy them. And listen, I'm not saying marijuana doesn't help some people. I know that. I know it does. So I'm not going to take away from that. I'm not going to take away from that. I'm just going to say you guys look into it. Can cause drug-induced schizophrenia. It can cause psychosis. Like it can hurt some people. And if that ever happens to Jace, and I pray to God it doesn't, Jenelle will never, well, to be quite honest, Jenelle will never take accountability for that. Jenelle will never take accountability if Jace becomes a schizophrenic due to her allowing him to smoke marijuana. She'll never do it. But it would be devastating to have to tend to a child who you just completely destroyed their life because you allowed them to smoke weed when they already have mental health conditions, when they were already struggling. I mean, take him off his medication that he's been on for 7 years. He was going to therapy once a week. Actually, I think from my understanding, the therapist was going to his house at Barbara's. He was doing it once a week and he was on medication. And then she stopped therapy, allegedly what I heard, stopped therapy, got him off his medication, and started letting him smoke pot. That's what my sources have told me, and I've been told that for a long time. I've had several people that live in the area that know them, that know this. Thank you, a sky full of stars. Thank you. Especially if you are bipolar, pot is not good for those with bipolar. Wasn't Jace also doing therapy in school? Maybe so. But yeah, so that's where we're at with this, you guys, is trial set to start January 26th, 2026. There is another hearing in October where they could potentially come to a plea agreement. That's not out of the discussion as of right now, from my understanding. It could happen. But honestly, listen, I don't know if David is fully aware. David and Jenelle, they were denying that there was ring camera footage. They were denying that. And in the article from the Ashley, it did say that there was some evidence that the judge was not going to turn over to David. I don't know what that is. There was some evidence that David would be able to use and some that he would not be able to use. I don't know. I'm not sure what that is. But if David comes to understand that, oh, there is ring camera footage, and this will be blatant evidence that I also put my hands on him, I mean, that'll be what it is at that point. You did it. The reasoning why is not really going to matter when it's a child and an adult and you're so much bigger. Like maybe if it was two adults and you're defending yourself, you know what I'm saying? But when it comes to a child who is unarmed, maybe Jace was armed. I don't know. I've not ever heard that. You know, maybe that's a little bit of a different story, but why is trial years later after the incident? I don't know much about the judicial system and how trial works, but I think that's fairly common, right? For trials to start like sometime later. Sometimes it could take a year or two. Amanda says marijuana is not good for a growing brain, period. But street marijuana is like extremely bad because you don't know what's in it. Like, God forbid something awful happened to him because he got something. You know what? That's what I say, and that's what I even tell my kids. I've never been a pot smoker. I smoked cigarettes when I was growing up. I smoked cigarettes. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, but I was never a pot smoker. But my older two kids' dad was. He was a pot smoker. And I tell my kids now that, you know, back in the day when we were younger, it was pretty safe to smoke marijuana. Today, it is not. It is not safe. You never know what is in it. Where I live, there has been cases of ketamine in it. There has been cases of trank in it. And if you guys are not familiar with trank, Whitney Purvis from 16 and Pregnant, she was arrested not too long ago because she sold a guy trank, or she sold a guy something and it was trank and it killed him. And this is a big old grown man, you know, like just imagine if somebody like Jace with his body weight, little old Jace, got marijuana that had ketamine or trank in it or mojo or God forbid something like that. So I'm hopeful that, we know that they smoke. Hopefully they're only getting it from the what are they called? What are those things called? Where you buy them. You go to the vending, it's like a vending, it's not a vending machine, but it's no, it definitely is. Cigarettes are way worse. I agree. Cigarettes, yeah, for sure. Dispensary. So I'm hoping that Jenelle only gets it from the dispensary and she does not buy it off the streets. Anyways, you guys, leave me your thoughts. And Trank is a horse tranquilizer. Yes, Trank is a horse tranquilizer, and unfortunately, where I live, it has made its way down here, and it's obviously made its way wherever Whitney lives because take care, Joe. Somebody was asking about you the other day because we hadn't seen you in a while. I'm glad you popped in. Jay Bland says smoking and drinking are a no for me. It's in Toronto too, Terrell says. So yeah, you guys leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. We'll be right back shortly because Jenelle is spiraling on X right now, talking crap about Marissa and then turning around saying, I'm not going to talk crap about my stepdaughter after she's talked crap about her stepdaughter. So we're going to come back in just a little bit and we're going to go over everything that she's posting over on Twitter. Even like she's made these claims about David that he is a pedo, right? But then she's like mad that David's not contacting Inslee. And I'm like, if my child's father was a pedo and he's not contacting my child, then I'd be like, okay, fine. Give me about 30 minutes, probably about 30 minutes because I have to get everything together, make sure her posts are still up because if they're not up, I'll have to go screenshot them and, um, anyways, you guys, leave me your thoughts. We're going to continue to keep up with the situation with David. If something comes up like a plea is taken, I'll let you guys know. But I really feel this is just my honest to God opinion. If David doesn't know about the Ring camera footage, if he doesn't know about it, I feel like he may feel like he has a pretty good case, considering there's so much evidence about Jace's behavioral issues and his mental health issues. He's been in mental health facilities. Jenelle even defended him. I feel like if David is not aware of that, he may try to take this to trial and try to fight this. Oh, that's so fun, Brie. I love that. Exactly, Lacey. He didn't know about it at first, but I would assume he probably knows about it at this point. We're not supposed to say any of them, but I'm waiting for the call. Wow. Yeah, that's very scary when you have a loved one that struggles with addiction and you're always waiting for the call. Me and Sean, we have Narcan on us. We both keep Narcan on us. And we have went over how to use it. And we don't even, we have some family members. They don't often visit us, but just if God forbid we're out and about and something happens, so we do keep Narcan on us. And I think it's important for people to be educated on that. Good. Hey, Liv. Anyways, you guys, if you don't mind, how much is a can of Narcan? We got them for free, right, Sean? Sean got ours. I think our pharmacy was giving them out one day and telling you how to use them. But it comes with the instructions and everything. Definitely going to be in prayers for you for your brother because that's a very scary feeling. I get it. You can get a Narcan kit free from the pharmacy. And it tells you, it comes with a little booklet that tells you how to use it. You give it in the gut blocks, good thing. We were riding through the park. It's one. I'm someone who does not believe Janelle's accountability. What the flip is Narcan? That is, so if someone overdoses, you give them Narcan and it counteracts the drugs that they have in their system. So if someone's overdosing on fentanyl, you put the Narcan in their nose, you shoot it in there, and it counteracts that. And it cancels it out and they won't die. Yeah, the antidote to drugs. So, if you guys don't mind, hit that thumbs up button. We'll continue to keep up with this. And we'll be back shortly to go over Jenelle spiraling. If there's a video, David's attorney has gotten it through discovery. I would assume at this point they probably have, but I know when Jenelle and David were still together, they were saying that didn't exist. Leave me your thoughts. Hit that thumbs up button. If you're not yet subscribed to Fatal Files with Elle, go hit that subscribe button. Also, you guys, if you didn't notice, over on my community tab, I put up a little post. Just want to know how long you guys have been subscribed to me. I will be doing a giveaway. If you're subscribed to Fatal Files with Elle, if you're a member, it may get you another entry into the giveaway. So when I hit 100,000 subscribers, we wanted to do a giveaway. I just haven't done it yet and hadn't had time to do it and didn't know really how I was going to do it. So I put up a post over on my community tab, just wanting to know how long you've been subscribed. If you're subscribed to Fatal Files with Elle, so you guys want, you can go up there. Let me know how long you've been subscribed. I will double check to make sure you're subscribed though. Okay. And we'll be doing that giveaway very soon within the next few days. Thumbs up. Join me back here shortly, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.